as a rule, I don't really like films that tug at the heartstrings, films that make me well up and weep, because I watch films for escapism from reality and I don't like being sad when I'm watching films. However, I really wanted to see Robot and Frank, and I'd heard very mixed things about it. On the one hand, some people thought it was the most emotional thing ever, and on the other, a lot of people found it very funny. And I thought that combination was something I could deal with. And I loved the concept. So there will be no spoilers in this video, I absolutely promise. But I can say, if you just want to know whether or not I think it's worth watching, I completely do. I'm shocked that it's taken me 8 years. If you'd asked me, I would have said this was released in 2016 or 17. No, it was released in 2012. And I wish I'd seen it sooner, but I'm glad I've seen it. So as I said, no spoilers. I'm going to read out the description from IMDb and then bounce off of that a little bit and talk about things that I liked and if there was anything that I disliked. This is unscripted, so my thoughts may be a little bit scattered, but bear with me. So, according to IMDb, in the near future, an ex-jewel thief receives a gift from his son, a robot butler programmed to look after him. But soon the two companions try their luck as a heist team. I mean, that sounds crazy. Straight away, a robot and a retired jewel thief, an elderly former jewel thief plan a heist. It sounds insane. And it slightly is, but it's also brilliant. So first of all, I love the idea of a robot butler. Not necessarily because I want one, but it's really great as a character to see how this robot interacts with Frank and also within society, because he's not the only person who has a robot. Other people do too. And there are some funny interactions with other robots, and with the robot himself. The robot is voiced by Peter Sarsgaard, and it is so brilliant. The robot is certainly really the main source of humour in this, and I think it's such a brilliant character and a brilliant way of telling this story of Frank, because it is mainly Frank's story. And he basically starts out as being a bit of a grumpy old man, a very stereotype, not wanting this butler, doesn't want anybody to interfere with his daily routines. And then something mysterious happens, and he suddenly has a reason to go back into trying to plan out a heist. It's been many years since he did that. That in itself is quite an odd thing for this character, because Frank is very lovable. He's that typical lovable, grumpy older man. But when you think that he used to be a jewel thief, it makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, because it's like, how can I feel like I really like this character, but if this was a film from 40 years ago, when he was younger, he would have been an antagonist, unless he was playing at being Robin Hood. So it really does question the way you look at this character, and also how we just look at people in general. But we see him planning this heist with the robot, and that in itself is hilarious, because the robot has knowledge, but no real emotion, and it's quite entertaining to watch. In fact, that's an understatement. It's very entertaining to watch. It doesn't take that long to get into, but it takes a little bit of time for it to develop the narrative so we can really work out what the point is. If, for example, you hadn't read the description and didn't know what to expect, it's not just about him getting on with a robot and what life would be like with a robot. In fact, that's secondary. But it's secondary, but it makes you think about it at forefront still, and it's really cleverly done. It's not a film about what life would be like with a robot, but that is completely there in the background, and at times you can bring it to the foreground, and I think it works very well. I would love one of the robots. So the narrative is brilliant. I won't talk about the ending in detail, but I will say that I was personally very satisfied. I was left feeling, I think the film was about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 or something, and I was left feeling like that was a fantastic way for me to have spent that time. It was absolutely sensational. So we'll have a quick look at the cast. The cast for me was neither a pro nor a con. There wasn't really anybody in it who I thought, well, I absolutely have to see that. But when watching it, every performance was solid. I had absolutely no problems with anybody. So it was directed by Jake Schreier, I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's done several things, Paper Towns, some other films that I believe are quite well known, but not really something that I'm particularly familiar with, because this is not usually my kind of film, as I said. And the screenplay is written by Christopher Ford, and I don't know how much they hacked up his screenplay or if it's pretty much verbatim, but the robot's dialogue is just, it's sensational, it's brilliant, it's great fun. Obviously, Frank is the star of the show, and he is played by Frank, now is it Langella or Langella? Or, Secret Option C. His performance was brilliant. I don't know how lonely it would have been on set a lot of the time, because obviously he's performing with this fantastically articulate robot. But apart from the crew, there are many times when it's really just Frank and the robot on the screen. So I'm not sure how much time he actually had around other humans, but their relationship is beautiful to watch. James Marsden plays his son Hunter, and Liv Tyler plays his daughter Madison. The other strong point for me that made me really, really excited, and her performance was amazing, is Susan Sarandon, who plays Jennifer. She's a librarian. I love that a lot of this takes place in a library, although the library is a central point for some of the issues. But I thought she was brilliant and beautiful and just exquisite, and it just made me that little bit more excited in the film. So the cast, great. I have absolutely no problems. Nobody kind of made me question their performance or wondered why they'd cast X as Y. Obviously, the best casting is the robot himself. I forgot to look this up before I sat down to do this, and I don't think I can see the information on the screen in front of me. I'm not sure who built or developed the robot, or how much of it is actual robot and how much of it is done in post-production, but it is brilliant, and either way, whatever the case may be, it's a thrill to watch. Did I cry? I don't think I cried. I got a little bit choked up at 1 or 2 points, but I didn't cry. So for me, it just ticked all the right boxes without being too emotional. If you haven't seen it, I expect most people have seen it by this stage. I was very late to the party. But if you haven't seen it, I thoroughly suggest you, because it's beautiful, and it's just one of those films that will really make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, while kind of also making you question your priorities and how we judge people and what the future of technology is and the benefits that it can bring. I have no complaints at all about Robot and Frank, and all I can do is say please watch it and let me know what you think. Personally, I thought it was beautiful.